something and
It's so fun.
give them the numbers and the information. Agencies don't, they don't know, but this
Very
person is
good.
very, yes, sorry.
Time is 6:01 PM. I'd like to call to order the special meeting of the Mayor and Town Council for Wednesday, April 16th. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have a roll call, please, Susan?
Yes, Council Cujerino. Here. Council Gonzalez. Here. Council Mackey.
Yeah, here.
Council Nagel. Council Sage.
Here.
Council Thor.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Rada. Council Tiniakos.
Here.
Mayor Tristan.
Here. All righty, this is a special meeting. It's, we will open up for public participation. It's related to agenda items only. We're talking about the budget today, so we will open the floor up for public participation. If you'd like to speak in public participation, please step to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. If you're on Zoom, please use the raise hand function and we will alternate between in the room and over Zoom.
Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. Before I read this letter on behalf of my neighbor, I'd like to make a request that we get a battery in the budget for that clock over there. Just asking for a friend. Once again, I'm going to read this for my neighbor who had hoped to be here, and I believe she sent everyone a email, but I thought, seeing I didn't know whether emails are read in, whether I haven't checked the minutes to see if they're attached, so just to be sure. My name is Amelia Sullivan, and I'm a Newington resident. I live at 78 Elton Drive, and I also am a new mom to my daughter Juniper. I wanted to share just how much the Newington or the New Meadow Pathway has come to mean to me and my family. We use the path every single day, whether we're walking to the park to play or heading to the library for story time. It's become a part of our daily routine, and I've come to appreciate how peaceful and connected to nature it is. That said, the pathway is not very accessible, especially when pushing a stroller. The uneven surface and lack of proper paving make it difficult to navigate, and I can imagine it would be even harder for someone using a wheelchair or other mobility aid. I would also want to mention that I'm not alone in this. There are 5 other new moms on Elton Drive who also use the pathway regularly with their young babies and strollers. In addition to us, there are many other young families in the neighborhood who also rely on the pathway as a safe and convenient way to get around or simply enjoy time outside. Beyond our personal experiences, I often see people of all ages using the path, from fellow parents with strollers to kids on bikes to older residents enjoying a quiet walk. It clearly is a well-loved community space that encourages connection, movement, and wellness. I respectfully ask that the funds currently in the Elton Drive Terminus account remain there to support accessibility focused on improvements to the pathway. I understand this is not a specific line item in the budget, but I've been told that these funds could potentially be reallocated elsewhere if not prioritized. Even modest upgrades such as gravel, pea stone, or another appropriate surface would make a big difference in making the path safer and more inclusive for everyone in the community. I hope that my daughter and the children she's growing up with on our street will be able to safely walk and explore the path for years to come. Investing in this space means investing in a healthier, more connected future for our town. And as I said, she also indicated, please read this into the record and include it in the minutes of the upcoming council meeting. She was sending it in hopes that you could consider it during this critical time of the budget planning and discussion. Thank you for your time and consideration and for all the work you do on behalf of our community. That's it. Listen to see if I have anything for
Thank
second
you.
participation.
And thank you, thank you, thank you, Mrs. Sullivan.
Yes, thank you.
I wish I were her.
We do have one on Zoom. Yeah, we'll go to the one on Zoom and then we'll go to you. Mr. Donahue, go right ahead. You're up, Mr. Donahue. We will come back to Mr. Donahue. Go right ahead, sir.
Hi, Bill McCarthy, 206 Churchill Drive. First thing I gotta say is that you guys are doing a great job. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. The two budget items that I'd like to have addressed or make sure that are protected. Number one, I'm on the Central Connecticut Health District, and due to federal and state funding downfalls, shortfalls, whatever, I just want to help or ask the town council to maintain funding for the health district. The other thing is the pool committee. I looked at the CIP and I couldn't really see in there exactly where the $30,000 for the RFP was going to come from for the reevaluation of the pools. My concern is that we support them, because this is a big project, and I hope that they can move forward. I guess that's it. No, there was one other thing that I can't remember what it was. Oh, the CIP. I guess I'm always a little bit confused about the CIP limits, whether or not what limit there is for something to go to referendum. If we keep it under, I'll just throw a number out and say 3 million. If it's under 3 million, that it doesn't have to go to referendum. I don't know if that's the number, but I'm just thinking that I don't know where the CIP money, I don't know how much money is in there and exactly what it can be used for. So that's it. Thanks. Good job, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill.
you.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Bill.
All right.
Try John again.
Mr. Donahue.
Can you
You're
hear
up.
me now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, beautiful. Technology guy can't get technology to work. John Donahue, 28 Maple Hill Ave. Just want to say that, thank you guys for your hard work on the budget. I know from personal experience, it's not a lot of fun. Although I'm not a fan of this budget, I just mainly wanted to log on and say that, for all you keyboard warriors that are going to come out tomorrow and complain and whine and, everything else, my suggestion would be, because I didn't see a lot of people in the audience for any of these budget meetings. If you're not happy with things going on, or you like things going on, come on and throw your hat in the ring and see what it's really like. But once again, thank you guys for all your hard work, and keep on going. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Anybody else in the room or over Zoom that would like to speak in public participation? All right, seeing none, we will move on to consideration of old business, tentative budget. At this time, as per tradition, we will.
Remarks by council.
Oh, I skipped that one. Sorry. Remarks by councilors on public participation. Sorry, guys. Councilor Mackey.
Just for the record, I'd just like to go on record that this special meeting was called without the input from the minority party. We would prefer not to have a special meeting called during school vacation and certainly during Passover. I think we would prefer to stay with the published schedule for the budget meetings. I think the schedule was published for a reason. I think that was so that we will all be aware of what the schedule was. And because of that, one of our compatriots, Councilor Nagel, is not here today. It's his birthday, and his wife had planned to schedule a surprise birthday party. And if you're married and you tell your wife that she has a party planned for you for your birthday and you're not going to attend because you're going to a special council meeting that was planned less than a week away, at least a week ago, that wouldn't really fly very well, and it wouldn't make a long-term marriage. Councilor Taniakas, you take note of that, because that would be important. So just so that we're aware of that, this is nothing we planned. This is something that the majority call. So just we have to go on record for that.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilor Taniakas.
Happy birthday to Councilor Nagel.
I won't say what birthday it is.
Yeah, right.
25th.
But to address Mr. McCarthy's concern about the pool RFP. So the RFP is currently in the works. It's out open to the public. And then Jonathan, I don't know if you could speak to where the funding came from now, just to give closure to that.
Yeah, real quick, I think it's a good point. And one of the things that Janet and I had talked about, there is some available money in the CIP for two projects that have already been completed that could be repurposed for these types of things. And I plan to present something to council at the May 13th meeting about this issue. And these could be current year budget items. So, it still doesn't really need to be necessarily addressed as part of this current budget cycle or next year's budget cycle, but can be reallocated for this year. It's in the works, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Madrigal.
Yes, I'd like to just address, thank you, Ms. Lyons, for reading Ms. Sullivan's letter into the record, even though it may not be potentially pertinent to the discussion today. I just want to make sure that I heard, and I'm pretty sure many people here heard the complaint. That path is a hidden little gem in Newington. Not a lot of people know about it. And several attempts, I don't know whether any of you remember, but several years ago, one of the scouts took it on as a project, one of their, what do you call it, the Eagle Scout project, and did a beautiful job of getting, Memorial Stone there, trying to get a little park there and a little bridge and whatever.
Yep.
And it came out absolutely spectacular. And within a month, it was heavily damaged, vandalized, and just destroyed, which was heartbreaking. And since then, nothing really has been done to that little path. And it's not only the students or the people in the neighborhood, it's a nice place for taking a walk. A lot more people in town use it than just that little neighborhood. So I would hope that at some point we could maybe use that $8,000 to contribute to it, or we find some kind of funds to do something. And I would hope that if we ever do something, it will be respected and not tragically vandalized like it was in the past.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Page.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, just a couple comments. I wanted to thank Mrs. Sullivan through Ms. Lyons for her comments about the path. I agree with what Councilor Draco and others have said. And as Councilor Mankey pointed out, yeah, we've also put some wood chips on there with the Scouts and other projects as well. And that's a valuable, highly valuable, beautiful space, of which there are fewer in this dense town we call Newington. And couldn't agree more, Bill, that we want to support our health district, and stay tuned for that. Also support our pool committee, the hard work they're doing there to revisit all the possibilities. So stay tuned for that. And I guess in response to Councilor Mankey's comments, we did call this, and we too have a member who's not unable to make it tonight. We felt the priority of doing something which historically, at least in my tenure at least, has not been done, which is to have a meeting prior to that final meeting on Tuesday, where we set the final budget. It's been communicated to us repeatedly, and I think we agree with the sentiment that too often, even though there's not a ton of folks here tonight, there may be more at home, but folks feel they can't have some input and let us know, yay, we love what you did, or you've done a terrible job and we're going to tell you about it. And we want to hear all that. So our intention anyway, certainly was not to exclude Councilor Nagel or Councilor Rada. It was really to respond to the people we work for, who are the residents, which is to offer a little time and space between tonight, when we're going to announce something, and Tuesday, when we're going to finalize something. And so that was the spirit. It was in no way to exclude anyone. And I promise you that. So that's all I wanted to say. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other remarks from counselors? Right, seeing none. Jump back to where I was going to jump the gun. Moving on to agenda item 5, consideration of old business, set tentative budget. Per tradition, we will go into a brief recess and go in our respective caucuses, and the leadership will discuss our cuts, and we will come back and discuss what we've come up to change. So at this point, we will be in a recess until we're done caucusing. Recess. Just making sure it works.
Hmm.
All right, very good. We are back from recess. The time is 6:41 PM. As indicated, we are at the stage in our budget where we are getting ready to kind of finalize it. We've talked about every meeting now for many weeks, about our process and kind of where we're at in the process. And as a council, we're at the stage now where we really take the lead of advocating for the taxpayer of Newington when we look at the budget. And, personally, I'm a taxpayer in this community, and when I look at the taxes, I have to look at my own family budget and consider that as well. So we have come up with a number of areas where we think we might be overfunded a little bit and where we could find some reductions so that we can work on the taxpayer and help the taxpayer out a little bit more. So I will hand it over to Counselor Page, if you would like to get us started, sir.
Sure, and I'll just ask, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just ask Janet, just start at the top and start with the code on the left.
Yep, the line 1 and 2 that are highlighted, the ones you did the other day.
Okay. Yep, so we're gonna start with 5.
Very good. So 5 is 111008501, reduction to Candlewick Parks, 450,000.
So we have a motion from Counselor Page,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Taniakis. Any discussion on this? Counselor Menke.
I just would say that our side has no adjustments to make tonight. We will have some for Tuesday, obviously, but because we're one wingman short, we have no adjustment. This is one of the ones we were looking at. We weren't proposing to make this a drastic cut, but we certainly support a cut. I think with times being tough, this is one of the things we could probably postpone for a year, but not that I'm explaining your cut, it's your proposal, so I'm not in the habit of supporting yours, explaining your proposal, but I just saying that our caucus could support this. Because we had this on our list of cuts, like certainly not the whole park, but portion of the park anyway.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Draco.
Isn't,
I would hope that the grant possibility would come to some fruition with this as well. So there is a possibility that this may go through. And if not, as we all said, some things do have to be put on hold, and we can address it again next year, but let's all keep hoping that the grant comes through.
Thank you, Counselor Draco. Yeah, I completely agree. That was really our rationale for this, is because there is a grant possibility and times are tough, as you said, Counselor Mackey, and if we have to push it off for a year because we can't get the grant, then we're comfortable with that. Any further discussion from counselors? Oh, we should do roll call vote on all of these, right? Yep, okay, very good. We had a motion by Counselor Page, seconded by Counselor Taniakis. Can we have a roll call vote, please, Susan?
Yes, Counselor Draco.
Yes.
Counselor Gonzalez.
yes,
Counselor Mankey.
Yes.
Counselor Page.
Yes.
Counselor Ford.
Yes.
Counselor Taniakos.
Yes.
Mayor Truist.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Counselor Nagel and Deputy Mayor Rada absent.
Okay, the next item, number 6, 111008501 is the account, and that is reduction, local bridge / dam inspections, $25,000.
Motion from Counselor Page,
Second.
seconded by Counselor Gonzalez. Discussion from counselors on this. Counselor Mankey.
Could you just have an explanation of why this is a cut?
Certainly. We felt that this was an area that was overfunded a little bit, as we've kind of reached the end of our process of lately of our bridge and dam inspection, and it was overfunded and not being utilized. Yep.
Thanks. This is one of the, sorry.
No
This is one of the
problem.
areas that we had also identified that there was enough money in the general fund, in this fund already that hadn't been spent up to this point. And we could probably cut. So we would certainly be in favor of this.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other discussion?
Now I'll take man down hand.
Okay.
There you go.
Very good, thank you.
Okay.
Very
You all
good.
set, Mayor?
Yep, we had a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Council Rodrigo?
Yes.
Council Gonzalez?
Yes.
Council Lee?
Yes.
Council Page?
Yes.
Council Ford?
Yes.
Council Miliakos?
Yes.
Mayor Tristan?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Counselor Nagel and Deputy Mayor Rada absent.
Okay, item number 7, account 111-008501, reduction to sidewalks, pavers and curb maintenance, $25,000.
We have a motion,
Second.
second by Counselor Gonzalez. Any discussion from council?
Again, just an explanation of why.
Certainly. Similar to the bridge and dam inspections, we felt this is an area that was overfunded. I know Chris, our town engineer, has a very ambitious plan, but he is a very small department, so what he can get to in a year is limited. And we think the funding was too much for what he can get to in a year. Counselor Menke.
Again, this is one of the areas we also identified as, it's on our list, which makes our meeting on Tuesday probably pretty shorter. Because even though, and the birthday present for Councilor Nagel.
We were thinking of it.
Thank you, we could wrap these up in a birthday gift.
Exactly.
There's quite a big fund balance in this already, and even if we started the work on July 1st, there's a very short period of summer work that you could get this work done, that, even if we were really ambitious, we wouldn't really get it all done. So, we would certainly be in favor of this cut.
Very good. Any further discussion from councilors? All right, seeing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Council Rodrigo?
Yes.
Council Gonzalez?
Yes.
Council Menke?
Yes.
Council Page?
Yes.
Council Ford?
Yes.
Council Miliakos?
Yes.
Mayor Tristan?
Yes. All right, motion carries 7-0 with Counselors Nagel absent and Deputy Mayor Rada absent, sorry. All right, next.
All right, item number 8, 111-008502, reduction to highway garage improvements, $50,000.
Motion from Counselor Page,
Second.
second from Counselor Gonzalez. Any discussion from council? Counselor Menke. Already know.
Again, it's a rationale
Sure.
for the public.
Yeah, no, absolutely,
You
absolutely.
gotta explain.
Absolutely.
Right.
And again, this was an area like the previous areas you spoke about that we felt was overfunded. We also understand though that this is an area that's gonna need some TLC soon. So this is something that we felt short-term could be reduced, but long-term, we have to look at a solution long-term. Counselor Menke.
How did you know? I think we had looked at this in our caucus, and I think this is one of those things that, it's not one of those items that gets a lot of press, because who talks about dump trucks and payloaders and sanders? It's not very visible, and they don't get the public support all the time until the leaves don't get picked up, or the roads don't get plowed, or the potholes get too big. So I think, at least speaking for our caucus, I think we would be opposed to this. I think it's a small amount of money, I realize in the scope of things, but I think it'd be short-sighted to cut that, because the garage needs work. Eventually, we're gonna need major work there, and it's not one of those things that were to go to referendum. We're not gonna get droves of people to come out and carry signs that we need a new highway garage, because it's not one of those major issues that people are gonna get behind. But I think it's important for the safety of those people that work there. So I would not support this.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Rodrigo.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking on what Counselor Menke said, anytime there's been a discussion the past couple of years actually about facilities, well, we need, emergency center, we need the pool, we need the library, and the parks garage. Then the highway garage, blah, 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 then we need the library, we need the town hall, we need the pool, whatever, and the highway garage. It's always, it's always mentioned, but always like kind of pushed to the bottom. And as the mayor said, it's gonna need TLC, in the future. I think it needs a little bit of maybe TLC several years ago, so it's gotta at some point rise to the top of the attention, so I will not be supporting this.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion from council? Seeing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Counselor Pedrico,
No,
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Counselor Menke.
No.
Counselor Page,
Yes.
Counselor Ford,
Yes.
Counselor Tiniakos,
Yes.
Mayor Trista.
Yes. Motion carries 5-2. Counselor Nagel absent, Deputy Mayor Rada absent.
Okay.
Oh, can I just make one point before you move on? These, just so for the public to be aware, these items that we've been looking at so far are coming from our CIP, not our general operating budget.
Oh,
So
yeah.
this is our long-term planning dollars that we think can have a little more wiggle room. So this is not coming from our operating budget. These are CIP cuts. When we get to operating, I will indicate. So I apologize for not making that clear sooner.
Okay, thank you, Murphy. Item number 9, 11100-8502, reduction to Parks Garage improvements, $50,000.
Second.
And I will jump right ahead and say this. The rationale for this was,
We got the hang of this now.
exactly similar rationale. Again, this is an area that, that we feel is overfunded for the time being. And we felt that we could take a little out of their CIP money on this.
And I will jump ahead and say ditto from the previous one that this is a garage that's been needing improvement and I would think we should go ahead with the process. So I would not support.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion from council? Counselor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. Janet, could you just remind us what is currently allocated in the town manager's proposed budget for that CIP item?
It was 250,000 for each one of those, so with a 50,000 reduction would be 200,000 apiece.
Thank you. Just wanted to confirm.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, we had a motion by Counselor Page, second by Counselor Gonzalez. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Counselor Pedrico,
no,
Counselor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Counselor Menke.
No.
Counselor Page,
Yes.
Counselor Ford,
Yes.
Counselor Tiniakos.
Yes.
Mayor Trista.
Yes. Motion carries 5-2. Counselor Nagel absent, Deputy Mayor Rada absent. Next one is coming. This is an operating budget item.
Operating budget item number 10, and it's 10240-8302, reduction to fire tech supplies, $9,175.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Page, second by Counselor Gonzalez. I will jump right in on this. The rationale for this cut is that the rationale placed in the budget was this was funds specifically for COVID supplies, N95 masks, sanitizer, that kind of thing. And last year's budget, we made it a point to start to sort of move away from COVID era funding items, as we don't have any ARPA funds to cover that kind of stuff anymore. And I think this is a continuation of that from this year as we look to, continue staying healthy as a community, but I don't think it's fair to the taxpayers that we continue to fund COVID related items. Motion and Counselor Menke, go right ahead.
It was my understanding that the fire department still uses these things for their sanitation and protection. So I guess without more information, I would vote no. I mean, obviously it passes, but I would vote no without any more information from them.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other comments from council? Seeing none, we had a motion from Counselor Page, seconded by Counselor Gonzalez. Please have a roll call vote.
Yes, Counselor Pedrico,
no,
Counselor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Counselor Menke.
No.
Counselor Page.
Yes.
Counselor Ford.
Yes.
Counselor Tiniakos.
Yes.
Mayor Trista.
Yes. Motion carries 5-2. Counselor Nagel absent, Deputy Mayor Rada absent. Counselor Page.
Okay, thank you. Item number 11, account 111008502. Our caucus wants to increase historic properties by $10,000.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Page, second by Counselor Gonzalez. The rationale for this is actually an increase. This is another CIP item. This was a CIP item that last year we took $10,000 off the top of their item with the intention of giving it back a year later. So this fulfills that. This replaces their CIP budget of $40,000 and brings it back up to $50,000 as it previously was. Counselor Menke.
It's almost like you had a spy in our caucus because this is one of the things. I better check into my dining room. That were console.
never
around
be
after
too
hours.
sure. Where is Deputy Mayor? Rapp?
Yeah, under my dining room table. We haven't vacuumed it in a while. I should check for bugs when I get home. This is one of the things we identified early because we're such a emphasis now on historic properties to cut $10,000 would be short-sighted. I would prefer we even increase it, but I think for 10,000 to put it back up to what it was before, I think would be good. So certainly we would support this.
Thank you. Councilor Draco.
No, I certainly agree, and I'm sure Deputy Mayor Rata and Councilor Plord were well behind in speaking up for this. Thank you both. Again, it
One of us
seems
at
that
my table, I'm sure.
for so long, we've kind of neglected our history as a town, the physical components of it. And it's nice to see that we're starting to realize that we need to pay a little bit of attention because before you know it, it's lost. So I'll fully support this.
Further discussion from councilors? All right, we had a motion by Councilor Page, seconded by Councilor Gonzalez. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Yes, Council Patrico?
Yes.
Council Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilor Menke?
Yes.
Councilor Page?
Yes.
Councilor Ford?
Yes.
Councilor Tiniakos?
Yes.
Mayor Chesner?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Councilor Nagel absent, Deputy Mayor Rata absent.
Okay. Item number 12, account 104728220. Increase other contractual for the Economic Development Commission, $1,500.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Page, seconded by Councilor Floyd. The rationale for this proposed increase is that we think that they've done a really good job. And they've done it with really limited resources, and I think a little bit more money in their coffer will allow them to do even more. I think that's evidence if anyone noticed the passport program from last year. They did such a tremendous job, and I think, we want to give them as much help as we can to do those things. Councilor Tiniakis.
Yeah, I was essentially they're doing a lot of like fun and cool things for the community. So I'm just really excited to see what they can do with a little bit of extra funds. And I can't wait to see what they come up with.
Councilor Draco.
Yes, as Councilor Plord knows as well, because he's the other liaison, there's a new excitement with the new counselors coming with good ideas and whatever. And I do believe that they've got the enthusiasm to get behind some projects and some big ideas that maybe weren't able to get off the ground previously for whatever reasons, but it's a small amount. But I think it shows that we're watching and we're behind them. And I just think that this is it's a token amount, but it's going to be put to good use from what I've seen.
Thank you, Councilor Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. Ditto to what's been said. They have done a miraculous amount with a very small amount of resources already. And I think what's really important too is they've demonstrated that they're good stewards of those funds. They're very cost effective. The things that they find, they try to reduce costs when they can. They know somebody who knows somebody. They've got networks, and I have no doubt that money is going to be, though a small amount, used in really, really exciting ways over the next year. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion from councilors? All right, we have a motion by Councilor Page, a second by Councilor Floyd. Yes. Okay, very good. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Yes. Council Patrico?
Yes.
Council Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilor Menke?
Yes.
Councilor Page?
Yes.
Councilor Ford?
Yes.
Councilor Tiniakos?
Yes.
Mayor Chesner?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Councilor Nagel absent, Deputy Mayor Rata absent. Item 13, please.
All right, item 13, account 106448217. Increase special contractor for senior center, $13,000.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Page, seconded by Councilor Floyd. Rationale for this is this is funding that will go to the senior center's elderly nutrition program, elderly nutrition program, Meals on Wheels, that sort of thing. This is an area that has been significantly affected in the last years by loss of federal funding, and on the horizon for that doesn't look so great. So we're kind of taking it upon ourselves as a town to, we can't have anyone in our community go hungry, and I think this is something that we're gonna overtime make part of our budget. So this is just contributing more so that over time we can ensure that everyone gets fed. Counselor Tiniakis.
Yeah, I just want to stress that, yeah, because of the changes at the federal level, the senior centers is pulling every trick out of the hat to make sure that people get fed. So, opportune time to plug their fundraiser that's coming up at the end of this month, but also at the same time too, this is probably a line item that moving forward, if things stay on the same course, we're probably going to have to be funding this even more so in the future. So it's just something to kind of wrap our heads around, that we need to make sure that our senior citizens have meals, you know what I mean? So.
Counselor Floyd.
Amen to what's been said. I mean, it's unconscionable that any senior in our community would go hungry, and more, we have larger and larger numbers of our seniors depending on this program for their daily meals. We've had, Jamie, Director of the Senior Center, come and speak to how vibrant and active of a program we have, how many people are involved in keeping that program going. And as Counselor Tiniakis said, it's an unfortunate reality, but it is the reality that more and more so this funding that we have to keep this program going externally is drying up. And so over time, and this is a big step in that direction, as was last year, we need to think about how we can more efficiently and effectively deliver this program to those who need it most.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Menke?
This is for the Meals on Wheels part of the program. right?
Yeah.
Yes, certainly we would support this.
Thank you. Counselor Page?
Thanks, Mayor. I would just add, if you look at all the public health data around social determinants of health, we know that social isolation and loneliness are correlates to increased medical and psychiatric conditions and shorter lifespan, and those are facts. And so Meals on Wheels is not only, as others have pointed out, a critical physically nutritional service, but it affects heart, soul, mind, and body for hundreds and if not thousands of folks. So we've got to do this. It's critical. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Counselor. We had a motion by Counselor Page. It was seconded by Counselor Floyd. Any discussion further? Seeing none, can we please have a roll call vote, Susan?
Counselor Pedrico?
Yes.
Counselor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Counselor Menke?
Yes.
Counselor Page?
Yes.
Counselor Floyd?
Yes.
Counselor Tiniakis?
Yes.
Mayor Tristan?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Counselor Nagel absent, Deputy Mayor Rada absent.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Item 14, account 109128220, reduction to general liability and auto by $3,000.
Motion by Counselor Page, seconded by Counselor Floyd. The rationale for this is Janet really helped us on this one, identify an area where we could, where we felt we were a little overfunded and we could take a little off the top to get a little more cut from the budget. So it was pretty much it.
We looked everywhere.
Yeah, we did. We looked under every stone we possibly could. Any discussion from counselors? Counselor Menke.
So this would be okay, even though the cost of repairs for autos and liability insurance in general has gone up. Okay, so even though that cost has gone up, I know my liability insurance has gone up.
We have the projections.
Okay,
From
so-
Kerma and from the broker.
Okay.
And they did come in less than what we.
Beautiful. Let me get your broker because I. Thank you.
Any further discussion from counselors? Now we had a motion by Counselor Page, second by Counselor Floyd. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Counselor Pedrico?
Yes.
Counselor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Counselor Menke?
No, yes. I'm sorry. My insurance. My own insurance. I vote no.
Counselor Page?
Yes.
Counselor Floyd?
Yes.
Counselor Tiniakis?
Yes.
Mayor Tristan?
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. Counselor Nagel absent. Deputy Mayor Rada absent.
Alrighty.
Item 15, there's no
Item-
numbers.
Item 15, no numbers. There's no account number, right? So our caucus is to increase the amount of the fund balance used by $2,300,000.
Second.
By Counselor Page, seconded by Counselor Gonzalez. Rationale for this, Newington, is your tax dollars. This, we were looking at the mill rate and, like I said, personally, my family couldn't afford the tax increase and we wanted to ensure that our taxes can remain level and we're not pricing people out of our homes. So the reason for this is, you know, if we kind of talk about some of the things that are going on at the state right now, if you hear at the state, there's a lot of talk about fiscal guardrails and what are we gonna do? And I think, you know, we felt as a council that, you know, it's raining and this is Newington taxpayers' dollars and let's use it so that we can help provide tax relief the best we can. Any other discussion from council? Counselor Menke.
So what were the total money being taken out of our general fund?
1,625,000.
5625? Yep.
And what is the total?
Unrestricted right now is, we're projecting, 20, or almost 26.
Would leave us.
That would leave us even,
Which is what percentage of our budget?
that's
Jerry?
16.5% of our, budget.
What is the minimum fund balance?
10%.
Yeah, I guess I mean, I see what you're trying to do and I see the point. I guess I'm more fiscally conservative. I guess that's why I'm on this side of the aisle than that side of the aisle. And I struggle with this every year. I know Councilor Page and I had this discussion last time when we took money out of the general fund. I don't like to take money out of sort of our general fund balance to pay current expenses. I struggle with this every year and I don't necessarily like it. So I guess on my conservative side, I would vote no for this. I appreciate the fact that what you're trying to do, I guess, but I like a more rainy day cushion than that. And so I guess I would vote no. Obviously you have the votes to pass it, so that's you should do that. But I think it's bad policy. I think taking money out is good, but this would be 5,600,000. $5.6 million. Pretty steep.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Tiniakis.
I could relate to that sentiment because I do my finances the same way. I hate touching our savings account unless it's absolutely needed. But myself, and I'm sure a lot of people also, if you've looked at your 401k lately, you might think that it's raining outside. So just the way that things are right now, like with our national economy and then at the local level, I think that this time period with like how our market is, it warrants us to dip into our rainy days funds because that's kind of what it's there for. You know what I mean? For these tough times where, you know, we're well above our minimum, which is great, but you know, to take some just to make someone's life a little bit easier when it comes to paying their taxes and things like that. I think that's personally what in my mind justifies using that. Because we're at this point when we're talking about the mill rate, we're talking about people's everyday spending money. We're talking about their grocery money. They're talking about, you know, them paying their car taxes if they have to and stuff like that. So for me personally, I'm okay with this simply because it's raining a little bit. You know what I mean? That's the best way I could put it.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Floyd?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, like Counselor Tiniakis, Counselor Menke, I agree with you. I think it's really important to think of the policy implications of withdrawing from that fund. And I think there's a lot of considerations that need to go into that. I think why we feel comfortable with this number is because, like Counselor Tiniakis said, there are a lot of residents right now who are dipping into their savings accounts to cover everyday costs, to cover their own, excuse the metaphor, operating expenses. And I think it's the least that we could do to go beyond just the same old and, you know, take away from that account the same amount that we would take if this were a different time, and actually think about the fact that we have this money there. It is raining. Others are having to put up for it to, you know, live their lives. We have to put up for it ourselves to lower that burden for them. So, you know, as has been said, it's a really unstable and difficult time. If the past few weeks have been any indication, it doesn't take much for somebody's 401k or their savings to be diminished. And that could happen next week all over again. It could happen worse the week after that. God willing, it happens, things turn in the other direction over the coming weeks, but we need to be prepared as a town. And it's just out of basic respect for the taxpayer, I think, that we have a responsibility to look more effectively at taking more money out of this fund.
Thank you, Counselor Badreko.
Yeah, Janet, this takes us down to 16%, you said, approximately. And what was it? Okay, and what was it before this withdrawal, 18 and 19%? Okay, and again, I think I'm, obviously along with Counselor Menke, a little bit more fiscally conservative. And yes, I mean, it's raining now, but that's not to say that it's going to be showering and thundering in the future too. I think we have to be cognizant of there's an awful lot of unknowns, and I feel we were taking, 3 million out, which is a significant amount, but fine. But then raising it and reducing, from 19% to 16% of our savings, with the minimum being 10%. And also it affects our rating. I just feel that it's funny, for the same reasons as everybody here about, reigning in the uncertain future, whatever. We can be hit pretty substantially, and this is the fund that would save us. So I would vote no.
Thank you, Counselor Menke.
Yeah, I think the trick here is, and I wish we were all the meteorologists, but is it showering now, or is it raining? Is it raining, or is it thunderstorming later on? And that's the question we don't know. If we go sort of all in now, thinking this is the end of the storm, and the storm gets worse. So I guess I'm like, as I said before, I would vote no. But that's okay. You have certainly have a different opinion.
Of course, yeah. Reasonable people can disagree.
I guess I'm more pessimistic about meteorologists than you folks are.
Counselor Page.
Thanks, Mayor. I would, if I were to choose one word for the way I thought about this budget process, it was to lend as much stability as possible, and a balance between absolutely no layoffs on the town or the school side as much as we can, while at the same time taking a look at all the things you all have mentioned just now on every side of the aisle about the typhoon. It seems to be, I'll use that word, typhoon, that seems to be hitting us. There's tremendous instability. We have an obligation to provide stability, and I feel like we're doing our best to protect the taxpayer, to protect the employees on both sides, and to have a calm, steady, stable, predictable future for the residents of Newington. And that's why I'm going to vote for yes for this.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Gonzalez.
I was at a housing meeting that our representatives put on the other night. And something that stuck out to me that one of the panelists said was that there are many, many people that are one emergency away from not being able to pay their mortgage and not being able to pay their bills. And raising the taxes is just something that I don't think the residents can take on right now. I fully support this for that reason.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Badreko.
Just one more uncertainty on the horizon, a year from now, actually, is I've been reading in the paper about a lot of other towns who are, struggling with the budgets as much as we are. But in particular, the ones whose recent revals have hit their budget. This budget that we're passing now is not subject to that. But no matter what happens, what we do next year, residents are going to be hit very, very high. And this funds from the general funds might have to be what we use to supplement next year, because it's going to hit us hard. So just comment.
I appreciate the comments. I'll add a couple more. Again, as has been said, this was something that we kind of wrestled with for many, many days and nights to decide. I think, the word that I've heard and that you just used again, Counselor Badreko, is uncertainty. There's just so much unknown right now. A year ago, when we did our budget, we were able to rely on investment income as a means to help offset some of the costs and increases in the budget. And that quite simply wasn't an option for us this year. There's no way we could, with the volatility in the market, look at the investment income and those kind of things. So I truly appreciate where my colleagues on the left on my left are coming from, not on the left. Sorry, guys. But I'm I'm fiscally conservative as well to an extent, and I think we've shown that up to this point. But I think this is just an opportunity. I think it's a time for it to happen. If Bob Dylan said, "If you better start swimming, or you'll sink like a stone." So I think we have to consider that. So that's why I'll be supporting this. Any further discussion from council? All right, seeing none, we had a motion by Councilor Page, which seconded by Councilor Plord. Can we please have a roll call vote on this?
Yes, Counselor Pedroia?
No.
Counselor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Counselor Manky?
No.
Counselor Page?
Yes.
Counselor Ford?
Yes.
Counselor Tiniakis?
Yes.
Mayor Tristan?
Yes.
And I think, Mayor, I'm sorry, I think that was Counselor Gonzalez who seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Councilor Gonzalez who seconded. Sorry about that, Kathy.
That's the-
Motion carries 5-2. Counselor Nagel absent, Deputy Mayor Rada absent. And one final item.
Okay, item 16, account 111008502, reduction to town hall annex renovations, $75,000.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Page, seconded by Councilor Gonzalez. The rationale for this, what this is, the town hall annex is referencing the purchase of the OFI building up the road. And when we purchased it, it was the intention was to do an EOC there, and I think there is going to be additional space, and at some point we will need to do something. I don't think now is that time. I think by the time a year from now rolls around, I hope that we are in a position where the construction on the EOC is done, but I don't believe we'll be in a position to start anything on any other renovation. So we felt it was okay to put that off another year. Any discussion from councilors? Councilor Mackey.
How would this set back the time limit, the timeframes to, do we get approval for the?
This is not related to that grant.
This would be for the other 2/3
Yeah.
that not being renovated. So, what the CIP request was $75,000 for this year or for next year, and then $75,000 for the following fiscal year. So $150,000 to do that fit out of that side of the building.
So if we didn't fund it this year, we wouldn't be able to move in till.
I mean, so whatever we would do with that other 2/3, which is still to be determined.
Right.
Yeah, so if we're not gonna fund it for next year, then, then we'd be looking at 2026, 2020, 2027, 2028 to do the actual fit out so that we could have a tenant, whether that's the town or.
So it wouldn't be till 2028. So that part would remain vacant. So if we wanted to move, let's say we wanted to move the council chambers over there for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, you couldn't do it till under
2028.
by deferring the $75,000,
Oh.
the first of the $75,000 till next year, then it would basically make it 2028
changes
and you
things.
could do that. Yeah.
I think then I would vote. I would vote no then. Because that would delay the whole process. The building would stay vacant then for 2 years.
Well,
No,
no,
there
the
would be- nothing would be in
EOC,
it.
the EOC was still.
EOC would be done, but the other part of
Yeah.
the building would, for 2 years, it would be.
No, I understand that, but I think
sitting there vacant.
I think we haven't even done a feasibility study on what our needs are here yet. So I think,
I get that, but
I think that
we're
we're putting the chicken before the egg a little bit.
we're putting money into it
Plan for
to
future.
build up $150,000 to eventually put somebody in there
Sure.
in 27.
My budget anticipates 2027, but this is.
If we make
This would
change,
push it
we'll
out,
push
this
to
would push it out a
28.
whole year. We still aren't gonna put anything in there in 2026. This would push it out to 2028, so I guess it just pushes out two years, so
1 year.
one
1 year.
1 year. From, which is really 3 years from now.
Right.
So I guess I would, for this one, I would vote no. Just so that we're all.
I got you, appreciate it. Councilor Draco.
When you said, so that 2/3 of the building, That's still owned by the town, though,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
We own.
So we could temporarily put, if we had to, a temporary office there,
over there
or
and stuff.
temporary storage or something like that. I mean, it's still usable.
Yeah, I mean, there could be storage uses for it, I'm
Okay.
sure. But as far as using it to, whether it's relocate a town department or staff there, or renting it to a third party, you know, to make it a revenue generating thing, that.
We don't even know. We haven't even really started
That's right.
planning. Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Counselor Floyd.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I mean, I think the difference here is that, like has been said, we don't have the plans yet. So, I mean, what we're funding here in two parts is a comprehensive fit out for something that we don't yet know will be in there, et cetera, et cetera. Things could change in the next year where we have those plans, or a year, 2 years from now, where we have those plans. And, you know, funding sources change, you know, either from us or from external parties. And so I feel comfortable with this because I just don't think that, well, it's responsible for us to move forward funding something that we don't know what it's going to be used for yet. If it's not a discretionary account like we have, you know, for Parks and Rec, it's like various maintenance, et cetera. But this isn't, this is very specific. Right. So.
I guess, yeah.
Go ahead.
I guess my point is, we're not gonna spend the funds in 2027. So if in 2026, we figure out what we're gonna do with that space, we're really piling up the funds this fiscal year and then next fiscal year to have the money to spend in 2027. If we don't spend them, if we don't save them, put them in the budget this year, we're not gonna spend them this year anyway. We're just gonna put them in the fund. And then next year, we're gonna put some more in the fund. So we have a money, an aggregate to then spend in 2027. So if we don't put them in this year, we're just delaying the process. We're just kicking the can down the road, if we like to say. We still have between now and 2027 to find out what we're gonna do with that space. But if we don't put the money in the budget now, we won't be able to do it until 2028. And I think that it means we're gonna have a whole, it means this council will have decided to buy a building and have 2/3 sitting there for storage with nothing in it. I think that's also irresponsible for the voters that they've spent that money on a building, which is gonna have boxes. So just because we're putting the money, doesn't mean we're gonna spend it right away. We still have time to figure out what's gonna build there, because we still have 2 years to figure that out. This fiscal year and next fiscal year, because we're gonna spend the money to fiscal year 2027.
Thank you.
That's how I look at that.
Sure.
So you we're not spending the money this year, we're just putting it aside.
Yeah.
Otherwise, in 2027, we have to put $150,000 or $200,000 in there all at once.
Correct. Yeah, this pushes it off another year.
And we're just pushing it down the road.
Correct. Counselor Diakis.
For me, it comes down to like the intent of why we even purchased that building. So like, you know, the goal of purchasing that building was to have an EOC. That's secure, that's on track, hopefully, right? And then the 2/3 part of it is just extra. You know, it just came with the building. So in my mind, putting funds aside to it is a want. It's not a need. You know what I mean? Like the functionality of why we bought that building is going to be on track, and that's not going to be deferred by this. So, you know, with the theme of like, you know, why we're making a lot of these decisions, it's the 75K that is essentially like a want. And I think that money can be better spent just not being put aside and on hold for a want essentially. And I think that's where my core rationale comes down to this. You know, we told everybody we're buying this for an EOC. That's the main intent. We're just getting a bonus on the side that there's extra space in the building. But I don't think that it's something that we need to make a priority by any means. So as far as like kicking the can down the road, like kicking the can down the road for a want, in my mind is okay, because we have necessities that we have to take a look at.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Page.
Oh, thanks, Mayor. I would just add that we're making between tonight and this coming Tuesday, millions of dollars in decisions about a budget. I think we can we're very capable of making a decision about 150 or 200,000 or 75,000 next year. And if the needs arise and our town leadership says we need to move on something for that remaining space, then I think this body is very capable of doing that. I have confidence.
Thanks, man. Thank you, Counselor. And just one more thing to add to that. I mean, again, appreciate the position, but I think, you know, I'd like to have an idea of what we want to do with it, because if we're gonna build a plan to stack money so that we can do it, I want to make sure we're doing it with enough. If we go with this plan with unknowns, then, and we get to the point in 2027 where we're ready to build, we don't have enough money, then what are we gonna do? So I think, for me, it felt like we need to have a plan before we start committing to that part of it. Councilor Draco?
Yeah, this is the first I heard tonight that there's even thoughts of possibly leasing it out, leasing the space out.
I have not been a part of any discussions about the use of this building, other than to say that I know there is 2/3 of it that will be, that was talked about fitting it out. I had proposed 150,000 for that fit out. How the building is used, whether it's for, as I said, for town staff to, you know, a department to move in there, or to rent it out to a third party, private sector business, those are decisions for council to make. And, you know, whenever you want me to move forward on a discussion with you guys, I'll bring Joe and Lauren involved and Janet in, and we'll, you know, figure out what the best approach is amongst the, you know, all of us are.
Because even if that's a possibility, sometimes if we don't even know, you know, who would possibly be leasing or renting or whatever, and they would be responsible for some of the, you know, costs as well. So, I mean, that to me is another big unknown if that's a possibility.
Counselor. Any further discussion from council? None. A motion by Counselor Page, seconded by Counselor Gonzalez. Can we please have a roll call vote, Susan?
Yes, Counselor Draco?
Yes.
Counselor Gonzalez?
Yes.
Counselor Menke?
No.
Counselor Page?
Yes.
Counselor Fuller?
Yes.
Counselor Tiniakos?
Yes.
Mayor Tristan?
Yes. Motion carries 6-1. Counselor Nagel absent. Deputy Mayor Rada absent. Yeah. I know Counselor Means that. Janet, we've reached sort of the end of our show for tonight, I guess. Can you please give us an idea of where we're at with the mill rate at this point?
With the changes you've made tonight, the mill rate would be at 40.63. That's a 0.96 mill increase or 2.4%.
Very good. Thank you, Janet.
Teacher.
One thing I want to speak to, as we've gone through this list, there is missing from this is anything related to education. We have engaged and been engaged with Board of Education on discussions on reducing their operating budget to a number that they're comfortable with, as well as their CIP. Right now, it is school vacation week and the superintendent is in London. So we wanted to give her time to get back in the country so we could have her be present for when we make those final decisions. So we will be addressing school budget at our Tuesday meeting. But like I said, we have been working with them very closely. The idea, the goal for the operating budget with them has been to try and get it in the 5 to 5.5% range. So that's where we're working on with their budget on that point. But we will have specifics next Tuesday, and we will finalize everything. Any other comments on these for tonight? I think that's all we had for tonight. You guys said nothing tonight. It'll be next Tuesday. Okay, very good. All right. We have finished consideration of old business. We'll move back on to public participation. If you're in the room or over Zoom, would like to speak in public participation, please step up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. If you're over Zoom, use the raise hand function and we will alternate between in the room and on Zoom.
Rose Lyons, 46 Elton Drive. I guess my first question would be, you know, you voted on it tonight. And I don't know if you'll respond or not, but I want to know if there's any possibility that you would change your mind by next meeting. And just a question I had. As far as Candlewick, I was not surprised to see you drop that because I heard talk about the grant, and let's just hope that the grant comes through. But this again, to me, is a want, not a need at this point. I know that their goal was to do a park a year, but now is not the year, in my opinion, to be doing it. The local bridges, dams inspections, sidewalk pavers. I've been hearing for years that we don't have the staff to do it. And it just keeps getting pushed off and pushed off. And I get it because we've had a town engineer and then not a town engineer. But I heard the same thing about this town hall. Wait until we went renovate and then look what happened. Go on to the highway department, their garage, just as I think Counselor Bedrejko and Counselor Menke have mentioned. I've been hearing about that at least for 10 years now. And the latest surprise to me was that they were doing a study to see if they could combine the two. Or we do so many studies and we overthink things too much in this town, as far as I'm concerned. You talk about kicking the pool down the road. This has been kicked along much longer than the pool. The historic properties, I'm glad to see that you're upping that. EDC, their budget has never been sufficient, in my opinion. But then again, I think this is the first year that I've really seen a lot of activity. I myself proposed $10,000 for signs for Constitution Square when they did the parking lot over, and they had 10,000 in, it got cut. But John Solomon told me, don't worry, I'm going to take it out of the contingency fund. So the way these monies move around in the CIP, not sure. Thank you for the senior center monies. I'm just curious what the historic thing is as far as how much money we take every year from the rainy day fund, because I hear the same discussion every year. We can't take it, then we take it. The monies, and this has nothing to do with the budget, but I just want people to think about, and I'm not looking for that $8,000 just for Elton Drive. There is a lot of other pathways in this town that need to be cleaned up. Gary Furstenberg, when they did a park over on New Britain Avenue, said that there was a little money left over. So they cleaned up a pathway there. So we have some places in town that we don't need new ones. We just need to fix what we have. And maintenance has been a very, very bad problem in this town as far as I'm concerned. And it's not the staff, it's just that we just haven't had the people to do it, and the CIP, the way we operate out of the CIP has changed so much. One thing that I remember from at least 10 years ago was when Maureen Klett was chair of the CIP, and Chris Schroeder came in and he had projected out 5 years or 4 years, $250,000 for land acquisition. And that got bumped. But if that money had been there for the fire department, when these properties came up, we'd have the money to pay for them. But everybody's mind is different as to what our priorities are. And mine right now is the south branch of the Park River, and I will leave you on that. I'm not giving up on it. I'm going to find out where the agreement is, whether it's there or not. So thank you again. Appreciate all you're doing, and hopefully we'll see you next time around.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the room or over Zoom that would like to speak in public participation? Seeing none, we'll move on to remarks by counselors. Any comments from counselors? Council Floyd.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say to part of Ms. Lyons' points and the points of colleagues up here too. This may sound kind of curt, and I probably mean it that way, but you'd think we cut the highway garage and parks garage projects entirely.
Right.
With that $50,000 cut each, there's still $200,000 each allocated in CIP for both of those projects. So just want to put that on the record. I think that's really important for folks to know that there are still monies going towards those projects, as there has been. And, we look forward to supporting those projects moving forward as well.
Thank you, Council. Councilor Tiniakis.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who came and all of everyone on the council as well for coming tonight. I know this is unorthodox to have a meeting like this. But personally, we're doing this so that way the public has more insight as to what goes into this process, where our minds are at, what our intent is. So I think it's really important. And then I think it also sheds light that maybe the process in our charter needs to be updated. You know what I mean? So that way we can make this a little bit more involved with the community and give people a better idea of what even goes into doing a budget for a whole town. But main point, thank you for coming and showing interest in, important things like this.
Thank you, Counselor. I will echo that. Thank you to everyone that's come out to this point and in all the meetings and send us emails and, send us Facebook messages and shared with us their thoughts on that. I mean, that's really you know, I don't think any of us up here are accountants, so for us to be able to do this, it, you know, it helps having, input from we have Janet, but yeah, for sure, she's our accountant, for sure. But no, we're not, we're definitely not. Yeah, so I think, you know, having input from the public has been incredibly useful in helping to give us some guidance on where we want to go. All right, any other remarks from counselors? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion by Counselor Floyd, seconded by Counselor Mankey. Any discussion on adjournment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, motion carries unanimously with Counselor Nagel absent and Deputy Mayor Rada absent. We are adjourned at 7:36 PM. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out.
How about